He entered the hearing expecting nothing out of the ordinary until Jasmine Crockett read one line aloud that made Kash Patel completely lose his composure in front of the nation. No one saw it coming. The hearing was set for 9 o'clock sharp. Inside room 2141 at the Rayburn House office building in Washington, D.C. It was a Wednesday, the sky gray with light rain. One of those days where everything felt slightly heavier. Staffers moved quickly through the halls, gripping coffee cups and folders. Reporters stood behind velvet ropes, adjusting their earpieces. Inside, committee members started to arrive, most with that worn-out expression of routine, half paying attention, half waiting for the day to be over. Representative Jasmine Crockett entered quietly, leaning over a slim legal pad. Her team had spent days preparing, double-checking sources, organizing paperwork with exact precision. She spoke little. She did not have to. Her eyes said enough. Her aide, a short woman in a deep green suit named Brenda Moreno, whispered a last-minute update before taking her seat behind her. Not far away, Kash Patel sat at the witness table. Patel seemed calm. His suit fit perfectly, his tie a touch too loud for the room. He leaned back in his chair, casually chatting with his attorney, grinning at something set off Mick. His nameplate on the desk caught the LED lights overhead. As people got settled, cameras from C-SPAN and other outlets adjusted their focus. Red lights blinked on the microphones. Chairs squeaked. There was that quiet tension before everything started, the kind of silence you only notice when you are paying attention. Chairman DuPont opened the hearing, moving through the usual agenda. Patel was there to respond to questions about internal messages tied to a major intelligence review that had caused a stir last year. Nothing shocking was expected, just clearing up confusion from earlier testimony. Or so it seemed. Jasmine remained quiet, pen in hand. She was not watching Patel. She had her eyes on his lawyer. The first questions were typical: dates, sequences, small clarifications. Patel answered smoothly, sticking to tightly crafted replies, his words sounding rehearsed and measured. Crockett's turn came around 30 minutes in. The chairman gave a small nod her way, and she adjusted her mic. "Mr. Patel," she began evenly, "during your last appearance before this committee, you stated there was no written contact between you and Mr. Devlin about the March 14th briefing. Is that correct?" Patel glanced to the side. "That is correct," he replied with a nod. "I believe that was my statement." Jasmine did not look up. She flipped a tab and slowly pulled a page from her folder. No highlights, no drama, just black ink on white paper. "I am submitting into the record a memo dated March 13th, she said, "from your personal email to Mr. Devlin's private account. It directly mentions details from the very same March 14th briefing." There was a small sound, someone shifting behind the witness area. Patel blinked. "That cannot be," he said flatly. "That email must be incorrectly attributed." But Jasmine kept reading, line by line, each word carefully delivered like a quiet strike. The message was specific, time-stamped, and copied to 2 staffers. Patel's signature was clear at the end. Brenda Moreno, sitting behind Jasmine, did not take her eyes off Patel's lawyer. He had leaned forward slightly, jaw tight. Chairman DuPont cut in, asking for more detail. Patel moved closer to his mic, stumbling a bit as he tried to shift the focus, but he had clearly lost his flow. Crockett had not raised her voice once. She did not have to. Her words carried enough weight. In a side room, a young intern watching from a monitor in room 2142 whispered, "Yo, is she about to wreck this guy?" Back inside, Patel rubbed his neck. The room's lights now seemed a little too bright. Jasmine laid the email in front of Heron. For the first time, looked up. "I will continue with my next question," she said, "but this is only one of several conflicts we have uncovered." Before she could move forward, Patel raised his hand, his voice now sharper. Something in him had clearly shifted. He held his hand still for a second, his eyes moving around the room, briefly landing on the cameras then back to Jasmine. "With all due respect, Representative," he said, the word respect thick with frustration, "that email does not reflect what really happened. There is more you are not seeing." Jasmine did not even flinch. "Then maybe you can explain that now," she said, calmly flipping the page in her folder. Patel leaned closer to the microphone. If someone on my team sent that draft, and it got incorrectly linked to me, you signed it, Crockett said, still calm. The signature line matches 3 other documents we have archived from that same email address, same font, same data details. Would you like me to read those into the record too? A soft murmur spread through the gallery. For the first time, Patel looked unsure. His jaw tensed and he shifted in his chair. I do not remember signing that, he said quickly. That is why. We do not rely only on memory, Jasmine replied. Patel opened his mouth again, but his attorney placed a steady hand on his arm under the table. He said nothing, just a small squeeze. A quiet signal to stop. Brenda handed Jasmine another page. This one was in color. This is a screenshot of your encrypted text exchange with Mr. Devlin, she said, holding it slightly up. It is dated the day after that memo. You said, quote, that memo's locked, clean, and off the radar just like we said. Would you like to explain what you meant by that? Patel let out a single short laugh, nervous. You're really using screenshots now? Jasmine's expression did not change. Do you dispute what it says? No. I'm saying you are trying to turn casual private chats into a political scene. They were not about dinner plans, she said evenly. They were about a federal intelligence briefing. The mood in the room tightened. Even the committee members who had been half focused on their phones were now paying full attention. Chairman DuPont pushed his glasses up and looked at Patel's lawyer, who still had not said anything. The chairman cleared his throat. Mr. Patel, you can respond to the question or choose to invoke your Fifth Amendment rights, but let me remind you this committee takes perjury very seriously. The word perjury lingered in the room like smoke. Patel gritted his teeth. There is no perjury, he said stiffly. This is a hit job. And to be honest, you are not here because anyone wants to play games. Jasmine cut in, her voice steady. You are here because the facts do not line up, and the public deserves answers. Her tone was clear, measured, not hostile. Patel glanced at the chairman, then looked down at the table. His lawyer leaned in and whispered something quickly. Patel listened, lips pressed together. Cameras recorded every second. Upstairs, interns in the media room were already clipping footage. Jasmine, calm, steady, in control. Patel hunched over, sweating. Just outside the hearing room, 3 reporters stood around a monitor. Is that real? One asked, pointing at the timestamp. It checks out, said another, already texting a newsroom editor. That memo wasn't even part of official evidence. Someone must have leaked it. Back in the room, Patel finally spoke again. There is no conspiracy here, he said firmly. That memo was only a draft. It never went anywhere. Then why did you lie under oath about it even existing? Crockett asked, leaning slightly forward. This time, Patel's lawyer cut in. Objection to the wording that suggests facts not proven. This is not a courtroom, Jasmine replied. Eyes still locked on Patel. And the facts are right here. Silence. One microphone popped softly. Someone coughed in the back. You knew this was not going to stay buried forever, she added, her voice just a little softer. You just thought no one would check. Before anyone could speak again, Chairman DuPont called for a short break. And that is when real tension started behind the scenes. As soon as the chairman announced the recess, Patel stood quickly from his seat. He did not wait for his lawyer. He did not wait for the cameras to turn off. He pulled off his lapel mic, muttered something under his breath, and walked fast toward a back room reserved for private witness discussion. His lawyer followed, speaking in a low voice. The camera stayed on a wide shot, capturing a brief look at Patel's facias. He walked past the chairwoman's desk, tense, red, and visibly shaken. Inside the private consultation room, the door clicked shut. No microphones, no cameras, but according to 2 aides waiting outside, Patel's voice was loud enough to be heard through the walls. What is happening out there? He snapped. How did she even get that memo? That was not supposed to be part of the record. It was buried. I know it was buried. His attorney did not respond right away. He opened his laptop and pulled up a log from the internal server. Someone gave it to her, he said finally, tapping a line on the screen. This is not from a public source. It came from someone close. You think Devlin flipped? Patel asked. I think that doesn't matter right now. What matters is you need to shut this down before she shows what else she has. Back in the hearing room, Jasmine remained seated. She had not checked her phone once. Brenda leaned toward her. That shook him, she whispered. Jasmine gave a small nod. He's covering something deeper. Across the chamber, members and staff spoke in low tones. The hearing was not even halfway through, yet nearly every political reporter in the building had tuned into the live stream. Within minutes, the hashtag Patel versus Crockett started trending. News networks scrambled for live commentary. Phones buzzed. TikTok was already filled with short clips of Patel's stunned reaction and bold captions. 15 minutes later, the session resumed. Patel walked back and slower this time. He still looked composed, but that early confidence was gone. Jasmine barely glanced at him. Mr. Patel, she said, let's revisit your earlier statement about the memo being a draft. You said it did not lead anywhere, but here is a message from Mr. Devlin sent 2 hours after your email. He wrote, and I quote, understood. I will make sure the committee never sees this version. Patel looked at his attorney, who remained still. He took a slow breath. That does not prove intent, he said. Intent is something juries argue over, Jasmine responded. We are asking what happened. That reply does not suggest openness. Patel's voice cracked. You're pulling all this out of context. You keep saying that, Jasmine replied, but you still haven't explained what the real context is. A quiet murmur came from the press area. Chairman DuPont tapped the gavel once. Patel narrowed his eyes. These are not real questions. You are trying to create a story. This is all performance. Jasmine raised an eyebrow. Is that your final answer? I am saying this is political theater. The word theater triggered a response. Chairman DuPont leaned in. Mr. Patel, please address the facts that have been presented. Patel ignored him. You people already know what you want to hear. You think dragging me through this helps your headlines. I have served under 2 administrations. I have been part of more classified briefings than anyone in this room. You think a few emails and texts are enough to pin this on me? For the first time, Jasmine placed her papers down. No, she said slowly. It's not the emails that did that. It's your words on record, on camera, again and again. If you had been open from the beginning, none of this would have become an issue. Her voice stayed even, but the pressure in the room grew. You could see it in the way Patel's hand gripped the table, in the way Chairman DuPont adjusted in his seat. I've had enough, Patel said suddenly, louder than before. You have clearly made your decision, and I am not staying here while you twist private messages just to support your own angle. He stood, not storming out, but deliberate and cold. His lawyer followed. The chairman called for order, reminding Patel he was required to remain until dismissed. But Patel kept walking, straight out of the room. As he left, one of Jasmine's aides quietly slid a new folder across the desk. When she opened it, the direction of the hearing shifted completely. The moment Kash Patel walked out, the room fell into an unusual silence, not tense, not calm, just confused. He was not officially allowed to leave. The chairman had just made that clear. Yet there he was, coat in hand, pushing through the doors like someone turning off a bad podcast. For about 5 seconds, no one moved. Then everything happened at once. Staffers whispered. Reporters picked up their phones. Someone from NPR walked out to contact the newsroom. A news anchor from Sacramento was already broadcasting from the hallway, one AirPod in, heels off. Jasmine did not say anything at first. She leaned back slightly and picked up the new folder. Brenda had slid over. It was thin, just 4 pages, but she stared at it for a full minute without blinking. When she finally looked up, her face was still steady, still in control. But something had shifted. Her jaw was set, more firm, like a decision had been made. Chairman DuPont cleared his throat. Given Mr. Patel's exit, we will take a short recess while counsel decides how to move forward. The cameras were still on. They captured everything: Patel's walkout, the murmurs of confusion, Jasmine's unreadable reaction, and it all hit the internet almost instantly. Not in minutes, in seconds. By the time committee members stepped out for the break, Twitter had already exploded. Hashtags were multiplying. Hashtag Patel walkout, Hashtag Crockett Files. Hashtag Hearing Chaos. A split screen image Patel exiting the room and Jasmine calmly flipping through her folder was already viral. A Starbucks on 4th and Madison in Seattle. Two college students stopped scrolling at the same time. Yo, one said, holding up her screen. Check this out. Who just walks out of a hearing mid-question? Did she pull out more files? The other asked. She's got something, man. Look at her face. At a gas station in Flagstaff, Arizona, a man in a hoodie replayed the clip over and over while filling his tank. Even conservative media voices were now weighing in. Some called it a trap. Others said Patel had cracked and confirmed everything by walking out. News usually moves fast, but this spread like fire. Back in the hearing room, Jasmine stood quietly with Brenda and a second aide, a younger staffer named Derek Flores, who looked like someone waiting for a red button to be pressed. I don't want to release it unless he returns, Jasmine said, tapping the folder with her index finger. But if he stays gone, we move. Brenda nodded. He'll come back. His lawyer is too sharp to let him go down like that. He already has, Jasmine replied. 10 minutes passed, then 20. In that time, 2 major networks broke into live coverage, not the usual C-SPAN stream. These were top-tier anchor desks. Analysts broke down every moment. Panelists speculated about the source of the leak. A legal expert in Boston said flatly, if what Representative Crockett has is legit, Patel might not just need a lawyer, he might need a deal. Meanwhile, in the hallway just outside room 2141, Patel's lawyer paced. 2 assistants were with him, one on the phone, the other typing fast on a laptop. He has to come back, the attorney muttered. Walking out on live television was bad enough, but if she's holding more, he needs to get ahead of it. Where is he now? In a car, 2 blocks away. Says he needs a minute. He doesn't have a minute, the assistant snapped, but it was already too late. Jasmine Crockett returned to her seat, signaled to the chairman, and formally requested that the hearing resume. Patel's chair was still empty. She got straight to the point. We have confirmed the next document's contents with committee counsel and 2 outside cybersecurity experts. It is an internal memo taken from Mr. Patel's personal email server. The date is March 16th. The subject line reads, Deconfliction Plan, Avoid Traceable Channels. She let that hang. Brenda brought the memo up on a digital screen behind her. Let the record reflect, Jasmine continued. This document lays out methods to avoid FOIA exposure. It includes the use of temporary phones, encrypted messaging apps, and scheduling workarounds to bypass calendar tracking. She looked at the empty chair across from her. This memo was written 2 days after Mr. Patel told this committee that no such strategies were ever used. Silence. Outside the building, a small group of protesters had started to gather, not because it was planned, but because it was all happening live, and people were reacting. But even then, they did not realize Jasmine still had one more card to play. The most serious piece, the one she had not revealed yet. 15 minutes after Jasmine introduced the deconfliction memo, Kash Patel returned. He did not barge in. There was no scene, just a quiet re-entry through a side door. His coat was still off. His face looked drawn. There was no smile, no dismissive comment, only the look of someone who had just been told that the narrative was no longer his to control, that it now belonged to the public. The hearing picked up again. Chairman DuPont skipped the formalities. Mr. Patel, he said, during your absence, the committee reviewed new material. You now have an opportunity to respond. Patel took a long breath. I would like to clarify a few things. He spoke again, voice quieter now. Some of the wording in those documents was never meant to be taken literally. Jasmine looked up. So you are saying it was metaphorical? He paused. I'm saying that people in my role sometimes speak informally when discussing risk management. Burner phones, she asked, tone unchanged. Encrypted scheduling tools to avoid detection? It is not what it looks like. You said earlier there were no written communications. Patel turned to his lawyer. Do I have to keep answering questions phrased that way? His lawyer stayed silent. Chairman DuPont responded instead. Yes, you are under oath, Mr. Patel. That was when something shifted. Not dramatic, but noticeable. Patel leaned slightly toward the microphone, not to argue, not to perform, just with exhaustion. His words slowed, less practiced now. I was following a framework, he said, one we all understood, one that worked. A quiet stir moved through the room. Jasmine's grip on her pen tightened. And who is we, Mr. Patel? She asked. He did not answer immediately. Brenda looked at Jasmine, then at the rest of the committee. They could all feel it. He was moments from naming someone. The policy team, he said at last. At least 5 of us. And were you told to keep those messages off the record? His voice dropped. Yes. By who? He gave a slight shake of the head. I'd rather not say here. Jasmine did not press, at least not yet. But the mood in the room had shifted. It no longer felt like a hearing for show. This now felt real. Outside, news anchors on live television paused. Headlines updated in real time. Patel, we followed a playbook. 5 involved in off-record communications. Crockett seeks names. In a middle school library in Spokane, Washington, a civics teacher stopped her lecture and pulled up the live stream. This, she told her students, is what government oversight looks like. Back in the hearing room, Jasmine leaned in. Slightly. We will pause here, Mr. Patel. Not because we are done, but because there's one more document I want entered into the record, and I want you to hear it directly. He nodded to Brenda, who tapped a key. A screen lit up behind them, black background, white text. A screenshot of a message exchange between Patel and someone saved in his phone as W staff line. It read, make sure we do not mention it in email. If she asks, deny it. She will not follow up. Patel looked at it for several seconds. Then he said something no one expected. I didn't write that. Jasmine's expression did not change. It came from your phone. It was spoofed, he said quickly. Or maybe I don't know. I never sent that. Brenda brought up a metadata analysis. We tracked the device ID back to your phone. The time of the message lines up with your login to the committee's secure portal. Patel rubbed his face. This is insane. I swear it didn't. Then help us understand who did. Jasmine said. Silence. I want a lawyer, Patel said. You already have one, Jasmine replied. I want a different one. Chairman DuPont leaned in, gavel in hand. Then we are suspending the hearing for legal counsel. The room broke into low, stunned conversation. Not yelling, just reaction. Reporters whispering. Aides moving quickly. Committee members trading glances. Brenda leaned toward Jasmine. That was not the most damaging part, she whispered. I know, Jasmine said. That comes next. As the room emptied, media outlets scrambled. They wanted the last piece, a single audio file Jasmine had not revealed. One that could open up a whole new set of questions. By the time Patel's legal team asked for the hearing to pause, the media was already rolling full speed. Not just social media though, that was already full of clips, but mainstream cable, news and radio too. Political podcasts and even morning shows picked it up. The story was no longer about a routine policy hearing. It had shifted to a man trying to escape a situation that was clearly no longer in his control. CNN had a panel waiting. MSNBC brought in 2 constitutional scholars. Fox News took a more careful approach, but even they acknowledged the moment. The clips were too direct, the facts too plain to ignore. This was no longer a left versus right issue. It had become a conversation about accountability, power, and outcomes. Outside the hearing room, protesters began gathering with signs, some in support of Crockett, others calling for further inquiry. Cameras shifted. Police set up quick barriers. It no longer looked like Capitol Hill. It felt more like a courthouse on the day of a major ruling. Inside, Patel's team had taken over a private room. One aide leaned in to give updates. There's audio. It's ready. She hasn't played it yet. For the first time all day, Patel sat completely still. He said nothing, just looked down at the floor, listening to the low sounds from the corridor. His lawyer leaned close and spoke quietly. You get one shot to explain it before they do. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett remained in her seat in the hearing room. She was reading a printed transcript tied to the audio clip, her lips pressed together, not out of frustration, but concentration. Brenda leaned in. Are we sure we want to play it now? We wait for the chairman to return, Jasmine replied. He'll want it formally on the record. It took nearly an hour for everyone to return. Members walked in slowly, many avoiding the cameras. The room was no longer just full, it was packed. Journalists filled every available space. Even nearby office staff had slipped in through side entrances, pretending they had official business just to witness what would unfold. 3 tech analysts had already confirmed that the files never passed through standard congressional systems. Then there was the audio clip. It had arrived on its own encrypted, with no identified sender, no digital fingerprints, but the voice was clearly Patel's, and the file was dated nearly a full year before the current hearing. Someone else wanted the truth out, but they were not ready to come forward. Now, with Patel's public unraveling, Jasmine sat quietly in her office, across from a whiteboard covered in names, dates, arrows, and phone logs. Brenda paced the floor. If 5 people were involved, and Patel is the only one confirmed who is still covering this up, there's no way he built this alone, Jasmine said. He had support, and not just junior staff. He talked about a playbook. Someone had to write it. Brenda paused. Do you think Devlin flips? If he feels like he's the last one left holding the responsibility, yeah. Eventually. Meanwhile, in a brownstone in Arlington, a man sat alone at a desk. His name, Rob Devlin, mid-40s, years of work across multiple government branches, low profile, not flashy, but known for solving internal issues before they became public problems. He stared at a burner phone on the table. It vibrated once. Unknown sender. One word, tomorrow. Devlin did not move. He just let out a deep breath, because he understood whatever this was, it was far from finished. The following morning, Jasmine received a new envelope, anonymous. This one was thin, just 1 page, printed in bold. Check your server logs. From March 17th. You missed something. Brenda read over her shoulder. They're still sending us pieces, or setting us up, but why now? Jasmine closed the folder gently. Because they assumed Kash Patel would take the blame for all of it, and when he didn't go down quietly, someone got nervous. That evening, Jasmine took a longer route home. She drove through Bethesda not because it was necessary, but because the space helped her think. And somewhere between the streetlights and soft hum of the car radio, she realized what she was in the middle of. This wasn't just about one man or one questionable memo. It was a system, quiet, refined, hidden, in plain sight. A network built over time to avoid accountability, and someone had expected it to stay buried. But the wrong person had looked too closely, and now, the cracks were beginning to show. The Patel hearing didn't fade away like most headlines. It stuck around not just because of the files, not even because of the audio, but because of the silence, that pause after the recording played, when Kash Patel admitted the voice was his and then had nothing else to offer. That silence stayed. People watched it again and again online. News channels replayed it without commentary, just 30 seconds, a moment of truth, and a face that could no longer talk its way out. In Sacramento, an older woman sat down and wrote a letter to her congressman for the first time in 2 decades. She ended with, I do not know much about the law, but I know when someone is hiding something. We deserve better. In Oklahoma City, a group of college students started passing around a petition. They were asking for stronger transparency rules. For congressional witnesses, they were not political science majors, most studied computer engineering, but the hearing had grabbed their attention, and they could not stop thinking about it. Even in Patel's own network, there were cracks. A former aide spoke out, saying a quiet culture of secrecy had existed for years. Everyone knew where the lines were and how to stay just outside of them. No one had to say it. But now, people were wondering how many other hearings had looked like this one, only with fewer facts, fewer cameras, and no one willing to push. Jasmine Crockett did not do a victory lap. She gave no interviews. No big press appearances, no speeches. When reporters caught her outside her office the next Friday, she only said, I'm glad the truth got the microphone. That was all. But that single sentence spread, printed on t-shirts, shared in bios, quoted in classrooms and debate forums. People said it late at night while talking about politics and ethics. And that is what moments like this do. They do not end at a hearing table. They keep going. they stay alive. In the form of questions. Questions like, why is it so simple to hide things? Who gets to define what counts as the truth? And who holds the people accountable who are supposed to do the watching? In a government office in Maryland, an internal audit quietly began. It was not made public, not yet, but behind closed doors, a few names started showing up on reports. People who had sent messages from private accounts, people who had opened encrypted documents, people who never thought anyone would bother to check. And in a small apartment in D.C., Melinda Cash, the aide who pushed the first domino, returned to her daily routine. She still filed documents, still walked by people who had no idea what she had started. She did not want credit. She did not care about media. She just wanted people to do their jobs the right way. That is what mattered to her. As for Patel, he stayed quiet. In a statement, no appearances, his lawyer released a standard comment, calling it a misunderstanding and a misread of the facts, but nobody paid much attention. There was talk that charges might come. Maybe they would, maybe not. But the real impact was not what happened to him, it was in what his actions revealed. People in powerful roles still count on one thing, that most people are not paying close attention. They believe no one will follow the emails. They believe if you talk long enough, loudly enough, and with enough confidence, you can stay ahead of the truth. But this time, the truth caught up. And it did not yell. It did not accuse. It just sat there quiet, dated, saved for the record. For every Patel out there, there is someone like Jasmine, and behind Jasmine, someone like Melinda, and behind them in homes, schools, or late-night conversations are people who still care enough to look closer, to ask more, to keep pushing. That is how real change starts, not by yelling someone down, but by asking the question they hoped no one would ask. So if this story made you think even for a moment, subscribe to the channel, because we are still paying attention, and we are not done asking.